A very good evening to you all, wherever you happen to be watching around the world. You are watching the ninth round of the ASR Development Series Championship. And just like last year, when we ventured across the Pacific all the way to the United States to go racing for the very first international round in both Development Series and Supercars, we're doing the same thing yet again, right across the Pacific, although this time it's not on the East Coast we find ourselves, it's on the West Coast. We are on the streets of Long Beach, California for a pair of races tonight. A short and long format is what's in store, and a very bit of important information to think about this one is there's only one tyre compound available, and that's the soft tyre. So it makes for a very interesting pair of races with a bit of strategy thrown into things, and we look forward to seeing what the United States Street Circuit can throw up for the ninth round of this year's championship. My name's Steve DeVries. Opposite me, for the very first time in ASR history, let alone in commentary, it's the first time we've got a former Development Series champion in the box. Opposite me for this round is the 2022 Series champion and current Supercars driver, Lockie Locke. Good evening, Lockie. How are you going?
G'day, going good. It's a pleasure to be here.
Yeah, it's been I guess this has sort of been a bit of a long time in the making, I guess, so to speak. There's been a few talks about getting you in for a commentary stint at some point, like in the same way that Lewis Wedding did with NZ Snipes for a good portion of last year. But always good to have somebody that's got a little bit of experience driving these cars around the track, and you can sort of attest to what the drivers are going through.
Yeah, absolutely. But tonight's definitely going to be a new can of worms, a track we've never been to before in these cars. It's definitely going to have a lot in store.
Yeah, certainly. Well, now the thing to remember too is we've been to Long Beach before in some of the other series that we've had in ASR. Back in the day, I recall, I think it was the Lancers. I think when we did the Super Series, we were on one of the very, very old layouts. I think it was the 1998 Long Beach Street Circuit layout. So you got about 3/4 of the way down the front straight, and then it sort of did a little bit of a U-junction and then came on about where turn 6 or 7 is, and then went right around the back. So it cut out the whole entire section going around the fountain and the back end of the circuit, and this really long chute that we're looking at on the screen here going down from turn 5 to turn 6. It sort of cut that section off. It's almost a bit of like what happened to the old supercars layout around the Gold Coast back in the day. I'm sure you remember the old IndyCar circuit, how it went on a bit further than what it did and then came back to where it sort of comes on around the hairpin nowadays. That's sort of what we did, what Long Beach did back in the day when it first got introduced, but they extended it, whereas supercars sort of cut it because the circuit was a little bit too long.
I think we also did Boxer Cups here at one point a few years back.
Yes,
from memory.
Yes, that's right. This particular layout also came around in the Boxer Cup some time ago as well. So that's going back quite a while now. I think that's probably at least two to 3 years ago. You're testing my memory there as well.
I think it was 2020. It would have been my first time driving in ASR, probably actually.
Yeah, it would have been that would have been almost your debut season. I would have thought in ASR in general, just off the top of my head.
Yeah, it would have been very close, definitely close.
Definitely very close. All right, so with all that, I guess all that talk aside, the important thing we sort of want to turn our attention to tonight is what's going to go on. So let's have a look at our track overview. Now, there isn't much activity going on the track at the moment, as the drivers are all getting a bit of a final wording before everything goes according to, or hopefully goes according to plan for the night. But here is the Long Beach Street Circuit. So it's a little over 3 kilometres long. It's 11 turns, and we were talking just a few moments ago about the old 98 layout. So that sort of got down on the front straight to just before turn 1. So sort of that halfway point between turn 1 and turn 6 on the opposite side, and then it sort of did a little bit of a U-junction and then came back onto the other side of the track. So that's the old historical short circuit, but since the early 2000s, it's carried on a bit further. And then now you go down to turn 1 around the very famous fountain, which is very much going to be a bit of an issue tonight because it's a very narrow part of the track, so not a lot of room there for passing, and probably going to be a one-line groove through there for most of the night. Then around the back, up the rise and then down the back straight and then down to the very famous hairpin, one of the tightest and slowest corners, not only on the ASR calendar, but in the world when it comes to motorsport. There's a lot of runoff there, Lockie. It's a very wide corner, but the apex of the corner is so tight that you have to take a really wide approach to that corner. So you're wide on the way in, you're super close to the fence on the apex as you go through the corner, and then you've got to use all the road on the way out. So it is an opportunity for someone to really throw a pass up the inside, a block pass up the inside, but to get it stopped, you'd have to slow it almost down to a crawl to get that pass pulled off at that last corner.
Yeah, it's definitely going to be a risky spot tonight to throw it down the inside, but I'll be intrigued to see if anyone can do it. And then, of course, turn one sneaks up on you coming down the front straight, so I'm guessing we're going to see a lot of people run down the runoff area, especially in qualifying, pushing the limits of their cars.
Yep, good point you brought up there as well, the runoff areas. There's very limited runoff areas here at this circuit. Turn 1 and Turn 6 do have a little bit of runoff, so you can go into that sort of exclusion zone in a very similar way to what we've got at Gold Coast at several corners there, but they're the only two corners around this circuit that do have any true runoff. Otherwise, there's very little room for mistakes. And as you said, Turn 1, very high speed approach. It's almost the same sort of speeds you're talking about going up the back straight at Sandown. Sort of 265, 270 kilometres an hour going into the braking zone. Very, very heavy braking zone. Not to mention the pit exit coming up on the right-hand side as well. So it can be a little bit tricky managing your car for that corner. And then the big important information up the very top there's two races tonight. They're two different distances. So a 40-kilometre opening race of 13 laps, an 80-kilometre second race of 26 laps. And as we said, the soft tyre is the only tyre available for use tonight. So where a lot of drivers have sort of come to grips, Lockie, I think you've sort of had this experience in supercars. A lot of drivers have come to grips over the course of the last several rounds with the hard tyre and its properties and how it behaves, and they've been able to manage it going through some of these sorts of races. They're not going to have that luxury tonight. Lap after lap in race one, they're probably going to have to conserve a little bit to make sure the tyre gets to the end, because we've seen what happens when you don't do that. And then in race number two, you're very much going to have to pick your strategy call and decide when you're going to stop. There's no ifs, buts or maybes about it. Pit stops are going to happen in race two.
Absolutely. And I did hear a few drivers on the radios in the practice session saying that the tyres are overheating very easily around this circuit, given its nature is a lot different to anything we've got in Australia. So it'll definitely be interesting to see how they manage their tyres tonight.
Yeah, you can see predominantly right-hand turns there as well, which means the left-hand side of the car, particularly the rear left, in a lot of occasions is going to be getting quite a pounding. There's a lot of corners. You need to carry momentum. So if you look at the qualifying tonight, you'll see coming out of Turn 3, going through Turn 4, going through Turn 5, through Turn 7, through Turn 8, those four corners, you're trying to carry the momentum through the corner. You're trying to get to the apex nice and cleanly. The turns themselves are very, very wide, but you're putting a lot of strain on that left-hand side of the car. So that's where a lot of the tyre overheating is going to happen. And in some cases, like Turn 4, Turn 5, there's not a lot of opportunity for the tyre to recover before you get to the next corner. So you arrive at the next corner, the tyres are overpressured, tyres are too hot, and it causes a problem.
It absolutely does.
All right, we are getting set for a run through the last few minutes of practice, so we're not too far away from getting into things here. What are you going to be looking out for tonight, Lockie? What's the takeaways from here? We've talked about the pit stop strategy in race 2. We've talked about the conserving the tyres. You've talked about, whether or not someone's going to try and throw a dive bomb up the inside at the last corner. What are your key takeaways tonight? What do you think is going to win this race? These races? Is it going to be track position? Is it going to be getting in and out of the pits at the right time, considering this is the longest pit lane of the entire year?
I think it's going to be the man on top's going to be the man who can look after his tyres. This track's going to be an absolute tyre killer, and I think whoever can manage their tyres the best and save what they've got till the end will stand on the top.
Yep, I think that's a fairly good and safe bet. I think we know that tyre's going to be probably the biggest talking point of the night, and who can manage them the best, who can get in, who can get out, and who can, if I'm looking at it and wondering where that cutoff is going to be in the second race. Like, we talk about it being a 13-lap first race and a 26-lap or double the distance second race. Is someone going to, who's going to split the race down the middle 50-50? Who can get that 1 lap longer, and who's going to get that 1 lap less, depending on what call they decide to make when it comes to getting onto pit road and getting out. It's a very wide pit lane, so there's plenty of room to get all the cars in and serviced and down the lane, but that, I don't think there's much room either side of that lap 13, the end of lap 13 in the middle, to make that pit stop work. So the window's probably between lap 12 and lap 14, 15 at the utmost. That's where my prediction's going to be. All right, well, not too much time to go here. We are ready and waiting to advance to qualifying. So as always, 10 minutes on the clock for qualifying. Now, with the long pit lane tonight as well, there was a few people that were a little bit worried. Like, I did talk to them earlier in the week. I had several messages and missed calls and things like that, and they were asking, is the qualifying time going to be extended because of the length of the pit lane so people could get in and out? And the answer was an emphatic no. It was a pure and simple no. You've got to be out in the lane. You've got to be ready to go when that session goes green. It's not fair to just extend it because of the length of the pit lane, but I actually think that actually also means it adds to a bit of the intrigue, because it is such a long lap, or such a long bit of time getting out of pit lane. And I could already see, as we turn to the broadcast, you can see they're not wasting any time. They're getting on with it. They are very much on the way down pit lane, led by Brandon Dostal and Anthony Green. And this is what we're talking about. It's a 40k an hour pit lane speed limit, as it is for all supercars and development series events. Normally in IndyCar land, in real life, this is an 80 kilometre an hour pit lane, but it's so long that you've got to be on the money. You've got to plan your run perfectly. These guys are not wasting any time. And look, session's already gone green. They're not even at the control line yet, which is just next to that little signpost that's just there on the top of the green hedge there. So they're on the money in terms of trying to get out there and get the laps done quickly, but the length of this pit lane has caused a massive problem.
Absolutely, and if you don't get out quick, you are going to waste so much valuable time in the pit lane, and you've got to go out. You've got to be on it from lap 1.
Oh, look at this log jam as well. This is a massive issue. Look at the log jam coming out of pit lane. There is a huge amount of cars. They're all still coming around the corner, and they've all sort of left this a little bit, I won't say left it a bit too late, but look, we're already nearly a minute into qualifying, and they're not even through the first half of the lap.
Yep, and they are all going to be trying to get their tyres in that window in such a short amount of time on this outlap. So they've got to go out, they've got to be on it from lap 1. They can't have any banker laps. They have to be smashing it from the get-go, really. So I'll be interested to see who comes out on top in this session. I
will be too. Now, you've noticed there, we were just watching Angus Brown. He's one of the several drivers this round that have gone and decided to pull out one of their alternate liveries for the round. There's a number of drivers in the field that have actually gone and done a Dale Earnhardt tribute livery, so we'll get a chance to review what everybody's up to throughout the course of the night. Is your current Super 3 points leader, Matt Cecil, getting onto the back straight. And this is a problem. The drivers need to find a little bit of real estate here. They don't want to be too close to each other going into the beginning of their time lapse. And men who have got some room at the moment. See, this is a nice sort of gap here as well. The gap from Dane McDonald back here to Ryan Smith and then back to Darren Lognan. That's sort of the gaps you want. You want to have a little bit of room to see what your fellow drivers ahead of you are up to. And then you want to have a bit of room behind you so you don't get rammed from behind. So these are good gaps at the moment, heading through the first sector. So purple sector's just come up for the man on screen, Ryan Smith, 26.5. He was the quick man in the practice session throughout the course of the last couple of hours. And again, he's one of the other drivers that have pulled out the alternate livery. Looks a rather smart livery from what I see here, Lockie, the Oreo machine. But the bit that I sort of struggle to comprehend is the cookies behind the front grille.
Yeah, I'm not a fan of having stuff painted behind the front grille on these Mustangs, but the rest of the livery is definitely very smart.
Definitely a head turner.
Absolutely, the blue is very striking and hopefully should be easy to see all night long.
Well, he's just purpled the second sector as well. Now he's coming up on Damon McDonald, but thankfully with the gap that he sort of had at the beginning of the lap, he's closed up on the 666 machine, but it's not going to sort of really impact his lap time too badly. 19.666, so that's not too far off what he did for his best lap in practice. I think he was into the 19.5s and 4s, if memory serves me correctly, when I was looking at the timing and standings a little bit earlier in the night. Whoops, bit of a moment for Rhodey, just sort of clouded the inside of turn 4 there, just a little bit too hard, and that deserves the old Paint Doctor replay. So let's have a look at what he's done there. Our first Paint Doctor replay for the night. And I think this is probably just getting a little bit too aggressive. Lockie, talk us through this one.
Yeah, so obviously he's attacked the curb by the looks of that, and he's just bit too much.
Oh, actually, worse than that. He'd actually had a moment, and then he lunched it.
Yep, he's actually had a tank slapper gone into the wall, and then Dukes of Hazzard over the curb.
Yep, that's
and that's back to the pit lane, and that will be a very long and slow drive back to the track.
Well, that's ruined his run plan as well, more importantly, because he would have been banking on going out. You know, every driver's got their run plan. They've got a set number of laps they want to do, and then they want to get in and change tyres and then go for another set of laps. So that will have absolutely ruined his run plan, and he's one of about 7 or 8 drivers at the moment yet to set a time. So looking at those yet to set a time, one of them's on screen right now is Brian Walsh, the yellow flag down here in the second sector. That's for, is that one? I think is that for, it's either Steve Warwick or Mitchell Steele Allison. I just can't tell who that is from my camera angle there. Either way, it's one of the Black-Scholes Gyms machines. Oh, Walshy goes deep at the hairpin there. Yep, had to avoid Mark Davey, who was nose into the tyre barrier. So Walsh looks like he'll set a time this time around. Those without a time so far, Steele Allison, Damo Hitter, Mark Davey, Brian Walsh, Ruan, Glenn Miles, Angus Wells and Rhodey. They're the 8 that don't have a time. We're about to make that 7. Walshy sets a time good enough for 20th. Not going to trouble the top of the timing screens too much, I would think. But otherwise, it is what it is. A couple more drivers yet to set some time. So Burko has set time. He's just ahead here of Damo Hitter. Burko up in 11th, 21.5 for him. Got the wall there on the exit of the beyond electrical corner there. Still got this yellow flag down here in this sector, and it's Rhodey again. So he's not having a oops, and in the background is shot there. He's just gone back into the wall.
Full 360 and back into the concrete.
Yep.
He's definitely not having the best of practice sessions, as we see Burko going into the wall there as well.
Yep. So pushing the limits again. Very few drivers have. A few drivers have already found the limit here, but that doesn't stop them from pushing all that hard and trying to increase their lap time. So time on the board for Damo Hitter, up to 18th. On another driver doesn't have a lap time just yet. Now this is one of the tribute liveries that we've seen throughout the last couple of weeks been submitted. So the 2 team cars actually running in a line here, Mitchell Steele Allison, number 24 machine, and then Steve Warwick behind him in the number 63. So some Dale Earnhardt tributes here for the 2 teammates.
Smart livery. It's always going to be a good livery when you put a 3 on a car. So yeah, I like what they've done with it. Looking to see where they end up in the race. Hopefully we get some of these tribute liveries on the broadcast a bit more for the occasion.
Yep, I would agree with you on that one. We'd lovely to see several of them up for the broadcast. We'll keep an eye on that. So Allison, he'll be sort of in the 21s, I'd say, is he? No, he actually got a track cut on that lap, so he's got to go again. So someone who was up the pointy end in the race for a good portion of the Gold Coast round a couple of weeks ago He's now struggling to find some lap time in this one. His teammate who's just in behind him here, 63. Steve Warwick 17th at the moment for him. First sector split's about to come up. And for Warwick, that's a fairly handy improvement, nearly 4/10 of a second there. If he can keep that up, he's going to get fairly close to jumping up ahead of number 16th place, Luke Yeager at the moment. He's got to pick up a little bit more time. This is a really sort of challenging sort of section of the circuit. You've got to use all the road. You've then got to go up over the hill. You've got to move the car back over to the left-hand side of the track for the next corner. It's a bit of a blind turn. This is just an equally as challenging part of the course. You can carry some momentum through here. You're left, then you're going to move to the right, then you've got to pinch it back left again. Warwick's understeered quite wide there. You need to keep a little bit of a tighter line, and he's understeered at the final corner as well. It's a really tricky sequence of corners to get right. You want to go fast around those last couple of corners, but the car just doesn't want to agree with you. I mean, he's picked up a lot of time in that last sector there, purely I think because that might have been his worst sector from previous laps. Moved himself up to 13th, but wasn't as tidy as what we've seen a number of the other drivers do so far.
No, and it's definitely going to hurt him now because this will be his last attempt at improving at that time. And the final sector, like a lot of sectors we see at many different tracks, but you've got to nail it every single time, every single corner. You can't mess up one corner because you mess up the next 3 or so corners in a row. So it is all dependent on being able to just nail that corner, the first corner, then the second corner. Every single corner needs to be picture perfect, or you mess up the entire sector.
Well, here we go. We're on the top of Brandon Dostal's car here. He's actually bailed out of it, so there's going to be no more time for Brandon Dostal. He is stuck in P2 at best, depending on what happens to him. There's been Rhodey's still got to set himself a lap here, so this is his last attempt at a lap. He's currently anchored to the bottom of the timing sheets at the moment. 1 or 2 drivers without a lap. Glenn Miles doesn't have a lap time to his name, so he's going to struggle from there. Keep an eye on that for Rhodey. These are the drivers coming to the line now. These are the ones that are going to be the last laps for them being posted, so if there's no improvements going on here, then they're not going to advance themselves up the order. You've got Melody Smith in Super 3, Stuart Nicol in Super 2. Just maybe, I was about to say, got a bit greedy there. Been held up. Now, where was he in the standings? I'm just trying to work that out. Where was McNichol in the standings? He was 17th. He wasn't actually on a, I'm not sure if he was on a decent lap or not there, but for him, that's come a cropper. And this is the problem. The traffic has sort of made it a little bit difficult for them to get a true, good, proper run through the last corner there. Right, so Rhodey's on a timed lap here. Finally into the last couple of corners. He's on a time lap. Mitchell Steele Allison, he's also on a lap just behind him as well. He's actually posted a time good enough for 13th. Rhodey's time is good enough for 20th. So he moves up the order. Allison bails. So he's not doing that good a time at the moment, and I think nobody else improved on that run. So a lot of the times came fairly early there. Only 2 drivers in the 19s, so Ryan Smith and Brandon Dostal, the 2 drivers in the 19s. Smith on pole ahead of Dostal and Angus Brown. That's actually really good showing from Angus Brown, I must say, Lockie, up into 3rd place. I think that's probably career best qualifying for him, at least, if not your best qualifying of the season.
Yeah, well done to Angus there. I just want to point out our Super 3 Championship leader, Matt Cecil, 23rd in qualifying.
Yeah, that's
right down the back.
That is a shock. That is a massive shock. I know his qualifying hasn't been his strong suit, but for him, his racecraft has always been better. But that's a long way down the order with your current Super 3, the pole sitter in Super 3. Actually, I think it's Luke Yeager in 17th is the current pole sitter for that class. So he's going to be starting alongside Mark Davey. Then you've got Damo and Rhodey in between the two of them, and then you've got Ruin, Melody Smith and Matt Cecil. So he's actually starting 6th in class. So not a great qualifying run for him, but it's not the end of the world. There's still plenty of time to make some good progress in the race, and as we said, I've noticed his race pace has been a lot better than his qualifying over the course of the season. So I'm expecting him to be a little bit better there as the night wears on. So we'll see how we go with that. Well, while we take a short break from all the track action, let's go and let's have a look at what the drivers' standings look like coming into tonight. Because, Lockie, for the first time, and what seems like it's since the very beginning of the season when we didn't have someone at the top of the standings at all, we actually have a new championship leader coming into round 9, and it's Luke Speck.
Well, there you go. Luke Speck, second championship leader this year, I think.
Yes.
Taking the crown from Dostal. Dostal's had some strong performances, but it's got a bit shaky the last few rounds. So hoping he can bounce back in this one and bring the fight back to Speck. And I think we're in for a good show tonight.
Yeah, so Speck's the third championship leader, I believe, over the course of the season so far. So there was a bit of time where Anthony Green was at the top of the standings, then it was Brandon Dostal, and he had sort of held the crown for a while. But his absence from the Gold Coast round gave way to Luke Speck to swoop in and take a good chunk of points. In fact, from his point of view, at the Gold Coast, he's actually walked away with maximum points. He walked away with both race wins, so 300 points in the bank for him, and very good result. That puts him at the top of the standings. Now, of course, drop round still yet to come into play. That's something that's going to be talked about over the course of the next couple of rounds. So probably by the other side of Bathurst in 2 rounds' time, we'll have an update for you on how all that sits. You can see there, so Speck with a good margin over Dostal. Then there's a good 3 drivers. Look at that. There's 26 points separating Callaghan, Burko and Green, and all 3 of them in the field tonight. So there's plenty of room there for those spots to change. Same with Ethan Knight. He's there or thereabouts. He's only better part of 50 points just behind Callaghan for 3rd. So there's still a bit that could swing his way tonight with some good results. Pole sitter at the moment, Ryan Smith sitting in 7th. Ahead of NZ Snipes. And we actually want to say, even though he's not here tonight, we actually do want to wish Kane Gray or NZ Snipes to his friends well, because they've got a very special little broadcast of their own going on tonight. They're doing an EP launch for their band, the band that he's a part of, so over in New Zealand. So we wish them all the best of success, and we hope to have a good night. And if he's watching this back, we hope you had a successful night. Then Darren Lochner and Steve Warwick are rounding out the top 10 there in Super 2. Let's go over the page. Let's have a look at what it looks like on the 11 through 20, because we need to give a bit of love to what's happening down here. Still a bit of room to move again here. Kemp and McDonald bring Palfrey into that equation as well, so not all settled there as well. Ben Hall and Scott Murrell, first time all season, I think, that we have neither of the CRE DevOps machines in the field, so they're going to take a little bit of a points hit tonight. Everybody else around them is definitely going to move up, especially Angus Brown. You expect him to sort of move up the order as well, given he's going to be starting 3rd on the list in the race this evening. And he's down there in 20th, and he needs a good haul of points to vault himself up the order. Let's go over to Super 3, because you alluded to this, Lockie, the Super 3 points leader, and by over 300 points. So he's 963 to Rhodey's 661, so that's a 302 point lead. So it's more than a full round's win if you're taking top honours in outright. But for him, although he has the handy margin, he's going to be starting well down the order. But it's all about the recovery from here. But the whole, after about round 6 of the season, Lockie, I was looking at him going, I think Super 3 almost might be sewed up, and the real interest is going to be what's happening behind, because it's still very close.
Yeah, it's definitely close. I mean, we can see Luke Yeager only separated by 1 point for 4th there, so that battle's going to be close. Mark Davey as well, not far behind them. And being Super 3, if they finish ahead of Super 2 cars and then they're separated from their fellow Super 3 competitors. That's a huge points haul. So although the gaps might even be large, they can come down mighty quick in the Super 3 field.
Yeah, they can. And given we are missing a couple of Super 3 runners tonight, so Michael McDonald, who's there in third place, Adam Kerrison's actually got Brian Walsh in his car for tonight as well, so he's missing. So there's going to be a little bit of movement in the points there tonight as well. You'd expect the likes of Mark Davey and Melody Smith to, and probably Glenn Miles, if he can have a good run, to move up the standings a little bit. And then Luke Yeager, he's here tonight as well. So at this stage, all he needs is better part of 40-odd points, and he'll be ahead of Michael McDonald by the end of the night. So still plenty to play out in Super 3. And lucky last, the teams standings. So top 10 teams, all are Super 2 runners. And, well, have a look at that. Look, you cannot get any closer than that at the top end of the point standings. Luke McHugh Racing, so Brandon Dostal and Ethan Knight, and SES Team Victoria with Anthony Green and Ryan Smith. There is 1 point that separates those two teams on the top step of the rostrum. That is quite incredible how that has worked out. And they're the two teams that have been going at it all year long. So they're the ones that shared the lion's share of the race wins, the lion's share of the podiums. So they deserve to be up there. They're up there in the top 10 in the driver standings as well. But they've also had to bring in a couple of substitutes along the way. Remember, Nathan Higginson filled in for Anthony Green last round at the Gold Coast. So that sort of has been some valuable points, because if that car had been vacant, then there would have been a bit more of a gap between the top two teams, and SES would have been a little bit further behind. So there's, well, 5 or 6 rounds still to go of this championship, and that is very much well and truly in the balance. Coincidentally, the best of the Super 3 teams is actually the team of Rhodey and Michael McDonald, so Hugh sent Vincent by PBF. They're on 1,276 points. They are in 11th, so they are about 170 points there or thereabouts off the back of Sideways Esport Aussie at the bottom of the standings. So that's the points coming into tonight. There's still a lot of points left on the table, and, well, for the victor of each of the 2 races tonight, you will get 150 points to add to your skyrocket. So we will wait and see how all of that pans out as the night unfolds. Well, Lockie, any last sort of comments before we go racing tonight? Anything that stood out in that qualifying session that sort of has got you rethinking your original thoughts that were talked about earlier in the night?
I still think whoever can look after those tyres is going to be on top. The times were not too far apart, a couple tenths here and there, but I definitely think it's going to be who can look after the tyres and not get held up behind some slower cars, because obviously if you're sitting in behind a car, your tyres are going to cook a little bit quicker, and more heat in your tyres, the easier they wear. So look after your tyres, boys, and, well, we'll see where you finish.
Yep, that's it. That's probably the best medicine, I think, isn't it? Look after your tyres and, make sure you can actually get to the checkered flag, especially in this first race. This one will be the interesting one, I think, from my point of view, Lockie, because I'll be looking at this going, okay, where on earth are people going to save their tyres? How fast do they drive? How slow do they drive? Where do they, ease off the throttle a little bit, to save a little bit of time? Because it's not a fuel critical race. Actually both races I don't believe are fuel critical. It's tyre critical in both of them. So you've got to look after the rubber, as you rightfully pointed out. Let's get ready to go. We've got 27 cars here tonight. It's a good turnout, not the usual 34 in full field capacity that we've seen. We've actually lost one driver throughout the course of the week, but we'll not have to worry too much about that in the next few minutes as we get rolling on the formation lap. Led away by Ryan Smith. I've lost count how many pole positions he's had so far this year. This is definitely not the first for him. So back on pole ahead of Brandon Dostal, sporting the ARB and Big Dane livery for tonight. First of the alternate liveries, the paying homage to the LA Lakers, the North and South racing entry of Angus Brown, career best qualifying for him from what it looks like. Definitely a season best, the number 36. Ethan Knight in his Mustang in fourth. The sister car to Angus Brown, Luke Speck in another one of the LA Lakers cars. So this is a bit of an inverted one compared to the other car. You'll notice Angus Brown with the purple at the front, yellow at the rear. This is the opposite way around for Luke Speck. Alex Kiddis in sixth, and he's in front of Darryl Callaghan in the first and Paint Doctor Engineering cars, and ahead of Hayden Cupid. So actually good qualifying, but he was very quiet in qualifying. Lockie, Hayden Cupid, he's sort of snuck back up into the top 10 there, so that's a good result for him.
Yeah, I didn't even take notice that he was in the 10, so good effort from Haydo there, and let's see if he can move up in the race.
Let's see how he goes. Head of Dave McDonald in the Paint Doctor Engineering machine. That's the only one of those two that are running a tribute livery to Earnhardt this weekend, although it's on the wrong make of car. There's not a General Motors field. Yes, exactly. Anthony Green in 10th, car number 10 in 10th. Then you got Darren Lognan. He's in a Mark Martin tribute car, the Valvoline NASCAR from back in the day. I did a piece on that some time ago, so very nice at number 11 for him. Burko in 12th. Then you got Palfrey, the SDS Team Kiwi entry in 13th. Mitchell Steele Allison 14th, ahead of his teammate Steve Warwick. Then Darren Kemp, second of the PCS Mustangs. Stuart McNichol in 17th, ahead of Luke Yeager, who's your Super 3 pole sitter. Mark Davey in 19th, and then Damon Hitter in 20th. Brody 21st, ahead of Ruan, who's filling in for NZ Snipes. Melody Smith in 23rd, and then balance of the field is we had 24th for Matt Cecil, 25th for Brian Walsh, Angus Wells in 26th, and Glenn Miles in 27th. So it's a big field of cars, pretty decent sized field of cars, but there's a little bit of trepidation, I think, here, because this is a concrete jungle. There are tyre barriers, there's concrete, there's very narrow parts of this circuit, and it could all go wrong in a heartbeat as we get set for the first race of the night. 13 laps, just waiting for someone at the back there, I think, that's not quite into position. And we are sort of waiting for everybody to get in set, and I think we are good to go now. So race 1 of tonight, race 19 of the championship proper, and away we go. Off into the unknown, because we've never been here before in the Supercars or Development Series. And well, the pole sitter didn't quite get away well. He's been gazumped by Brandon Dostal. Here comes his teammate too, Ethan Knight, the 77, making some moves. He's already up to third place after starting down in fourth, so very nice job for him. Moves himself up. That's good for the points for the championship for both of them, and they've gotten themselves now through this really difficult section. There's already a bit of chaos going on at the water fountain. Surprise, surprise, on lap 1. I'm not surprised, and I wouldn't be surprised to, straight into safety car already. And it's Mitchell Steele Allison who's the one that's come off worse for wear there, and I'm not sure if he's been punted or shunted or bunted or what's going on there. We'll get a read on that in a minute, but there was definitely a log jam at the water fountain as we go on to the Paint Doctor replay here. Now, I don't know if this was maybe entirely his fault, but look at it, 3-4 deep in some cases going through here. A little bit of leaning on each other, coming through the section there. Oh, there it is. So there was a note, a love tap, I think, potentially from his teammate, got into the back of Stuart McNichol, and then that got into Allison. So definitely not his fault. Just a little bit of accidental contact, I think, from his teammate into another car, and that sets off the chain reaction. They did so well up until that point to get all the way through there, but I guess it was inevitable. It was always bound to happen. There was always going to be something or some reason why there was going to be a safety car. The probability was high, and it's paid its dividends already. Whoops, and your race leader very nearly went on too fast at the head at the turn 1. That's a bit of a, you don't see that every day.
Oh, and the flash of the headlights from Ryan Smith. It's a bit of an odd one there. I mean, he didn't have anywhere to go really, so
no,
I don't know if he You can blame Dostal for that one, but I mean, it was a matter of time. The safety car was inevitable here. It's much like the Gold Coast concrete jungle, and concrete jungles love to produce safety cars.
Yep. Unfortunately, that is sort of the old cliche, isn't it? We've seen it so many times over the years. And I mean, the only sort of concrete jungle that we don't really see the safety car appear all that often is really Albert Park, but that's because the place is so wide and the walls are so far away that there's plenty of margin for error. But when you're on a street circuit like this where you've got no wiggle room, there's very little sort of spot to go. And now caught up to the ASR safety car. Now they need to be careful here because the safety car will slow down going through the final couple of corners. So Dostal's just got to be really careful. He's got to sort of back it off a little bit here because the safety car does take a bit of a wide line. It's got such a stupid steering lock on that car that it can't get, struggles to get round the hairpin.
Yeah, he kept it all right distance, didn't run into it, so no harm done. But I think he's definitely got to leave a little bit more of a gap. That's a bit of a... Yeah, he's getting a bit close there at the moment.
Yeah, he certainly is. I think he knows he's on the broadcast, so he doesn't need to be doing that, but he'll need to be paying attention to when that safety car goes in and when he needs to get control of the field. Well, we talked about what was going to go on with Matt Cecil in Super 3 because he was starting so far down the order, but have a look at that. 8 positions gained on the opening lap, and I think some of them will have come because of what's happened at the water fountain, but look, he's already behind the pole sitter from Super 3.
Yeah, you can never count him out. It's never over till it's over, and he's jumped up to second on the road for Super 3. And you bet your bottom dollar he is going to be going for first in class.
See what he's got
when we go green.
He's got a fair old whack in the middle of that rear bumper as well, so he's had a shunt somewhere, probably as a result of what was going on there. Maybe he got the shunt to glory, I think it might have been. So might have been sort of minding his own business and then has decided to got a bit of a helping hand going through to potentially what could have been a bit of safety, I would imagine, based on what just happened.
Jump to pass.
Yeah, jump to pass. Now, there's been quite a few people that actually haven't fared too well out of what's just happened. So we saw Mitchell Allison was one of those drivers that had to come in, so he's just ahead here in 25th place. But Jacob Palfrey is down in 26th place. Now he was ahead of the Steele Allison car at the beginning of the race, I believe, but he may have come in for a stop, I would have thought. So he's definitely well out of position. So he's one of the drivers that I've sort of scratching my head over at the moment, wondering what's happened to him. Safety car's actually going in, so they only have very 2-lap safety cars, so that's a bit short, and we'll wait and see what happens here. But Dostal's got control of the field. They've all got to get round that final corner, and the line comes up now, so good restart there. Very nice restart from Dostal. Gets the things proceeding again at the end of lap 4. The field's still coming around the final hairpin as they stream across the front straight yet again. There's a dive from Kiddis looking down the inside here on Callaghan, and he can't get it done. Callaghan holds.
Good defensive driving there from Hank off the car. And they've managed to get through.
Not quite. They're not quite. Mark Davey looks like he's had a moment. Actually, looks like he might have got the inside wall there coming into that section, but it is a local yellow, so that's a good sign. And he gets going again. And let's have a look at what happened to him, because I did see some wheel tracks that were there. The driver's locking a few brakes and all. He just get a little bit too greedy on the inside. Oh yeah, he just took a bit of the... got a bit too close to the concrete there, and that's very easily done because you want to straighten that part of the circuit as much as you possibly can to take a nice line and try and break in a straight line for it. So he's, as they say, the classics, that'll buff out. Oh, there's the move you're on about there, Lockie, right up the inside there, and oh, there was a safety car called as well. So that might be, for Alex Kiddis, that might be penalty. Oh, we're just seeing what the safety car's for. The safety car is for a couple of drivers. McNichol was one, and oh, there's a wheel missing there as well. So there's Melody Smith, who's there, and Rhodey's out of this, so that might be the reason for the wheel that has departed company with a car somewhere. Actually, no. There's actually been a fair bit go on. I've actually just picked up what's happening here. We are going to go again to the replay, but they do say safety cars breed safety cars. And we're going to have to take to the old free cam camera, I think, here to have a bit of a look at what's going on. So Rhodey's gone in to turn him way too hot. There's a wheel, so that's an engine fire, so that's one of the wheels. And then Walsh got a shove, so the wheel actually got moved on. So that's what's caused that problem. And then there was a bunch of other drivers that had piled in after the fact. So we have an explanation for the loose wheel, but there's going to be a number of drivers with some damage after that. So Rhodey, the first one out of here, and that's just, he overshot the braking zone by a mile.
He was definitely struggling in qualifying, but yeah, that almost would have to be a failure of some kind, as Melody Smith just gets the wall there. But yeah, that was a huge impact. I'd love to know what happened there, because that almost looked like a brake failure.
Yeah, it looked like he either overshot the braking zone or the brakes didn't grab enough. We've seen drivers over the years as well, like they push the brake pedal and the brake pedal just doesn't respond. Either it was too far forward or not enough temperature in the brakes. You know, maybe they've gone for a slightly different ducting setup on the car because they don't want to, they think the brakes are getting too hot, so they go the wrong way. So there could be any myriad of reasons why that's happened. I'm sure we'll get an answer in the chat from him fairly soon. He's going to shoot out and keep an eye out on things. But, well, the one thing that I was looking forward to in this race, Lockie, was seeing who could make their tyres last. Well, unfortunately, what it has done is it's basically given all the drivers a whole bunch of respite with their tyres. So tyres are now not a problem for this race, but and fuel's not going to be a problem either. But it just means that it just opens the drivers just a little bit more to probably go and have a little bit of a push when the racing gets back underway. But in terms of actually looking after your tyres, you don't have to do that.
Yeah, that's absolutely gone out the window now, which honestly might be a good thing. We might have some good hard racing once the safety cars disappear for the evening. If they do, let's cross our fingers and our toes. But yeah, the tyre strategy has definitely gone out the window now, and it's all up to talent, I guess.
Yeah, I think so too. I think it's just all up to talent from here. So we'll have an idea, hopefully, in the next few seconds or so, if the safety car's going to go in again this lap. Drivers know, we certainly don't. We can only take a bit of a guess as to when it's going to go in. Although the safety car lights are out, so here we go. It's a metal. We're out at the hairpin, and no, we're going again. So that's a bit of a weird one. I did see them go out, but it just must be how the safety car lights are designed to do. Now, the bit that's going to be curious for me, and I think this will probably be something I would imagine will be spoken about after the fact. We did see, as we're cutting back from that replay, Alex Kiddis managed to sort of pull that move off that you were looking out for at the hairpin to see if you could get that over and under treatment and steal a manoeuvre away from somebody. But unfortunately, I think he might have done it under yellow flags.
Yeah, it was a textbook block pass, but it might have been done under yellows. And of course, if it's yellows, you can't pass. So the car in front is not expecting a green and orange Mustang to fire down the inside. So we'll have to go back and leave the stewards to that one. But yeah, that one's going to be knife edge. It's very fine. Yep,
that one too. Well, if he thinks he's done it, probably the best thing he could do is actually to give the spot back and restart as quickly as he can and then re-challenge for it in a corner or so's time. So we'll wait and see what happens after that. We'll what we might do is, what we've just got a few seconds here, we might have a couple of the other liveries that have popped up here. So this is the third of the Dale Earnhardt tribute liveries. that we've seen. We've seen it on the two gyms, and Blackshaw's gyms, Commodores, which of course General Motors brands. It looks good on the Mustang. Don't get me wrong, Lockie. It looks good on the Mustang, but the problem is that the Intimidator was never a pilot of anything other than a General's backed machinery in NASCAR. So it's fitting with the theme of things. The livery should be on a Holden ZB, but it still looks good on the body of the Mustang. But it's just not. It wouldn't pass the pub test in the States. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, it does look good with the obviously the two-door variant of cars in the field, but yeah, definitely going to be hit by the purity stick on that one.
That's a good one. I like that. Let's go back and have a look as well. The couple of cars behind him is the Darren Lockman machine, which, as we mentioned, is a throwback to one of the old Mark Martin Valvoline cars back in the day. You're watching one of our broadcasts a little while ago when we had a retro round, and I think it was Lewis Wedding who put a very similar looking livery onto the Gen 2 Mustang back in the day for the Sandown retro round a couple of years ago. Did a nice little piece on that Mustang, because that livery, because it was a very famous livery back in the day, because it didn't net Mark Martin title back in the late 90s, but it was a challenging time for NASCAR back in the day. That it was really only a coupe division, sort of a league. You know, you had the Chevy and the Dodge and all those other cars that were in there, but then Ford came along with the Taurus, and the Taurus was a saloon. It was a four-door saloon, so it was an exception for NASCAR to sort of homologate that particular body shell for the 1997 season, and then the following year it actually won in the hands of it was Dale Jarrett to the title in 1998. Might have my years maybe off by a year or two, doing this all off from memory, but that was the famous livery Mark Martin ran in that late 90s campaign, the Valvoline livery. So that's what Darren Loughran's representing there with the number 31 for him. Of course, Mark Martin back in the day was the old, I think it was the number 6 or number 5, I can't remember what it was off the top of my head. Bailey Hall, I'm sure if he's in the chat will correct me on that one.
Yeah, it's definitely a very striking livery. I always love a Valvoline car. The colours just work so nice together.
It's a very simple livery, but it looks really, really nice.
Yep, and he's done an absolutely spectacular job of painting it. It looks fabulous on the supercar, and well, he's nearly in the top 10, so he's nearly doing livery some justice.
Certainly is. Only one spot off the top 10, just behind Hayden Cupid there as I go around a hairpin. All right, back to green flag racing here. This hopefully is going to be a 6-lap sprint to the end. There's not been a lot of racing in this one. There's only been about 2 laps there or thereabouts. Dostal gets the jump again, but he's a little bit asleep at the wheel. Smith was right on the money. He was right on his hammer as they came across the line. So he's going to look down the outside, but Dostal's at the moment sort of defending clear air, and big margin there. A little bit tail happy as he left turn 2, and now through the fountain they go. Line astern, look at them all, line after line after line as this car nose to tail, nose to tail, nose to tail as they all sort themselves out coming into turn 5. Well, Dostal a bit wide now. Smith might have a good run here down the outside. Dostal's going to have to play defence, and he gets it stopped. What about the cut back here? Smith's going to be cutting back on the other side, but the next corner goes right. So Dostal's got the high line for the next corner, but he's vulnerable at the moment, Lockie. He doesn't look comfortable.
No, he is throwing everything at it to defend from Smith here, but Smith is in the zone. He's gotten right on it, right after the safety car, but Dostal's doing it well.
Oh, Smith gone!
Smith is
gone! He's gone! He's down the... he's trying to grab reverse here as well. Now he's got to wait for the field to go past. He overshot the braking zone by a mile. He was putting the pressure on, and Dostal withholds it. Oh, and there's been some contact at the last corner as well between Kiddis and Brown. And Kiddis gets through. I'm not sure if he tried to send one up the inside there, but there was definitely a little bit of contact between the two Mustangs, and so the Mustang and the Commodore, and Brown's not happy about it, and he's going to try and argue this down at 2, and can't get it done. What happened? Let's have a look. Whoops, we've gone a little bit too early there. We'll have a bit of a look here at what's happened coming into the final corner between these two. So Kiddis went round the outside there. Oh, that's a Oh, Knight was lucky to get a bit of contact there, and then sort of Callaghan shoved Kiddes through. As a result of that, that might be a bit of a late lunge there, and there's been another safety car called. You are joking me. While we're watching that replay, there has been another safety car called, and I don't know what this one is for. I haven't had a chance to take a look at what it is yet, but there's definitely a third safety car of this race. High rate of safety car. I don't know who it's for. It might be for Mark Davey, I think. He might be the cause of this one, because he's a non-finisher now. He's actually gone down as a non-finisher on our timing screen. And just waiting to see whether or not he is the ultimate reason for that. But well, we haven't got much racing in this one, Lockie. I'm sort of a little bit disappointed that we haven't got much racing.
Yeah, I think everyone needs to knock it back a few notches. We're all going out and pushing when the cars aren't ready, and well, Alex just sending it now twice at the hairpin. He's really desperate to get a move done there, but now twice he's sort of in strife for doing a move there. So a bit to look at after the race, but yeah, I think everyone just needs to sort of knock it back a bit and drive a bit more sensibly. Especially coming into the longer race, we don't want a repeat of this for 26 laps.
Absolutely don't. Well, here's what happened to Mark Davey. Oh, that's the second time he did that a little bit earlier at the water fountain, a couple of corners earlier, a few laps ago. Got the inside there, and he's just rotated the car again, and that's what's triggered the yellow that time around. So that'll be the reason for that.
Yeah, just hitting his hips on them walls, and as we learned at the Gold Coast, if you get just too close, those jagged edges that stick out do grab the car and rotate it really easily. So unfortunate for him, but I'm sure he will bounce back in the second race.
Yeah, I'm sure. We'll see what happens there. He's going to be finished down the order, and Glenn Miles has come to. Don't say Glenn Miles has come to pit lane, but there's a whole bunch of checking up going on at the hairpin there, and I don't know what all that was about. Now, there's been Steve Warwick was potentially ahead there, I think. I don't know what was going on, but they came around the corner, and there was definitely something not quite right. So, so there was there's a bit of a lineup back at the end. There's a bit of a lineup going around the corner. And so Steve Warwick had to come to a stop, had sort of nowhere to go, and Nico's actually gone ahead there, so he's given the spot back.
He's redressed it.
He's redressed it. So I was about to say, if he didn't redress that, that would have gone out on the race management channel to say that there needs to be a positional spot there. So that's good that that's been sorted. Keep an eye. There might be a handful of penalties possibly thrown by the game at the restart here, but we'll have to wait and see what it does. If so, that will be cleared. Steve Warwick. We're actually just cycling through because we're having a look at some of these other liveries that have been produced. So there's another one of the Dale Earnhardt tribute liveries on Steve Warwick's number 63. What looks like it's a tribute livery there. We've already seen the one from Mitchell Steele Allison tonight as well. We've seen the one from Ryan Smith. I think they're sort of the only ones that actually, there was Angus Wells, who was the other one as well, sorry. So Angus Wells, and this one's not sort of a throwback sort of livery to anything. This is sort of a look at a different take on a Lightning McQueen and Cars livery. We've seen the one that they've that were produced sort of over the years. I think it was last year in development series. There was, I think it was Lindsay Muddle, I think it was, that ran a car that was of that sort of shape. But Aidan Williams this year in Supercars has gone with a bit of that theme, and we've got Angus Wells has gone with that sort of theme, just in the blue colour though on the Commodore in Super 3 for this round. Still maintaining some of the sponsors. We'll check up again. Maintaining some of the sponsors from his main livery, but just changing up the base on it. Actually, a bit of quite a bright point there.
Yeah, I think that's the best livery in the field, hands down. Whoever painted it must have done a really good job.
Putting your hand up there.
No bias, of course, but no, it was a fun livery, that one, to paint, and well, one from my childhood. So always good to revisit some Lightning McQueen stuff, and I think it came out pretty well.
Yeah, actually, think it did too. Actually, just quietly. Well, that's they're all the liveries that are in the field, and of course we've already had a look as well at the two LA Lakers machines as well. So just to give you the 4-1-1 on those ones. So there's Luke Specky, current championship leader, running in 7th place, and you can see there clearly got the yellow front, and then the separator with the purple on the rear. And then the sister car, you can just see that just a few cars ahead was honing on that one now, where it's got the purple front with the transition to the yellow rear. And I actually don't mind what they've done there, rather than go with two liveries that are very much the same, and then make a very small, subtle change to the car to identify which driver's in which car. They've actually gone with making the cars themselves a little bit more distinguishable, but still maintaining the essence of what they wanted to go after. Roadie, or people will know what we're talking about, because last year in supercars, of course, there was a bit of a kerfuffle around the two, I think it was the 2 Pixel Sim Sport machines that were running around, and how he could possibly not tell them apart.
Yeah. Always got to find a way to trick the commentators when painting cars, of course, and I think we're going green.
We're going green again, so we are now officially into overtime in this first race of the night. So not the first time we've been into overtime this year, but Dostal, he was under some pressure. He needed to go. He's actually no, there's a false start. That's a false start. So too close to the safety car at the time that it went in. So that's a little bit bizarre. So they all have to just slow down here, and they have to be mindful that there's going to be another lap or a little bit behind the safety car. And there's someone I'm just keeping an eye on. I think it was Glenn Miles is actually coming up to at the fast rate of knots there at the back of the field. But he's now caught up to the group. But yes, I think a few people are wondering what's going on here. And yep, I've just seen in the chat, gone out to the drivers, that it has been declared a false start. So that means that the race leader, aka being Brandon Dostal, was too close to the safety car at the point where it needed to go in, and therefore potentially he might have gone ahead of the safety car. He might have been in a bad position and hasn't actually been called. So that is normally an offence that does draw a penalty of some nature for the race leader for failing to control the restart properly. So I won't be surprised to see that one looked at, because it has been punished before, and that might be something that when it comes to the championship later on this year, that might be, I wouldn't say costly, but it can cause a few more headaches than it otherwise normally would, because it might put you in a position where you have to finish in a certain position to be able to get the result that you're after to win a championship, and you don't find yourself you've got to pick up too many points to do yourself the right level of service that you need to do. Hopefully it's not too critical for him, but what he does need to do is he needs to get this restart completed properly here this time around.
Still a few positions up on current championship leader Luke Speck, so with a penalty he's going to have to, well, if he does get a penalty, he's going to have to try and get that gap out to stay ahead of him. But right, going green.
We are going green again, and we are back underway. So for this time, let's see what happens. Here comes the leader. Here comes Dostal, followed by his teammate. Now, I'm sort of wondering whether or not he is going to be challenging for a race win here or not, or whether he's just going to fall into line and just think about the team's championship. There's a little local yellow there. I was keeping an eye on what's happening. Or there's already a little bit of argy-bargy going on through the water fountain. You can see Ryan Smith. Oh, he's wasted no quarter here, and he tried to throw it up the inside of Kemp in turn 5, and that didn't cut him off at all. Oh, there's contact there between was that Lochnan and Warwick. They went side by side there, and there was a bit of a pinball, a bit of a ricochet, I think it was, off the wall. Coming out at turn 5. Oh, Dostal! Oh, there's contact! Dostal's lost it!
And this is going to cause big problems as Kiddis runs into the back of Knight, and Knight takes the lead.
Knight has taken the lead. Dostal butchered it. Oh, Matt Cecil, I've noticed as well. He's butchered it too, coming up the same corner. So, problems for our championship leader in Super 3. Problems for the man in second place in the championship in Super 2. And his teammate is going to grab a win here, completely unexpected. Dostal throws the win away 2/3 of the way around the final lap. There's chaos. There's chaos at the final corner at the hairpin. There's cars everywhere. Oh, look at it. It's a logjam. There's cars absolutely piled up there. Steve Warwick's in there. There's all sorts of things going on here. Who's caught up? Kemp.
Matt Cecil.
Matt Cecil's in there. You've got Angus Wells in there. Kemp was caught. Warwick's been caught. Smith is the one that's been caught as well. I'm wondering if there was a late send there and somebody didn't pull it up for the corner. Oh, wow. And look at that. Oh, Wells has got massive damage on the 88 machine there. There's, safety cars breed safety cars. I'm surprised that they didn't just finish that race under the flag that it was, but there was what on earth happened at the final corner. We're going to have to just wind some of this back, I think, and try and figure some of it out. I've seen that like Luke Yeager's gone into a fence somewhere as well. All right, we've got it on the replay here. We're going to go back and take a look at this because this is sort of rather bizarre. So let's just get the replay up here. So this is the issue here. So Smith trying to make his way through the pack. Okay, that's a fair pass that time on Kemp. So he's got that done, but he's on the outside, wrong side there, trying to pick up some more spots. And he did what Alex Kiddis did. He tried to go into the peg there. Kemp was innocent in that one. Burko had gone around by himself. Oh, no, that's a penalty. Ryan Smith, that's a penalty. That's going to be a disqualification for reversing on track. Drivers were warned that they couldn't do that. Warwick has run into Smith purely because he's grabbed reverse and he's caused absolute chaos. That is going to be, I'm sorry to say it, I'm doing a Lewis wedding here, I'm having a rant. That is a penalty every day of the week. That is race disqualification for Smith.
There is some interesting rejoins there too that are definitely going to be looked at. There was other cars reversing, other cars driving forward, blocking other cars. It was, it wasn't pretty, that's for sure. And our pole sitter from pole to potential disqualification there. That's really unfortunate for Smith.
Yep.
He's obviously got pace. He's obviously strong, but a bit desperate there at the final corner, or more than desperate, I'd say. And you can't even fit two cars through there, let alone three. So I'm not sure what he was thinking there, but last lap sillies, I guess. And you can't say he didn't have a go, but he probably should have toned it back a little bit.
Yep. Oh, look, I agree with you. I think he probably needed to tone it back a bit. Look, there's no doubt that he had pace, but look, we used to make this remark quite a while ago, I think, especially in supercars around when Will Devonish had some of those moments. I mean, you remember it. I think you've seen it a few times. We used to call it the get there-itis scenario. There's always got to get back to where you were. Even if you made a mistake, you've got to get back to where you were. People just can't accept the fact that, they've lost out and they don't feel they belong there. They will, move heaven and high earth to try and get there, and unfortunately it causes things like that. So that's going to be a bit of a learning curve, I think, for him. And he's definitely going to have his work cut out for him in the next race. But, I mean, all joking aside, he's definitely got some pace, but he'll be one to watch. He'll be an interesting one to watch from the back of the field, no doubt.
Yeah, he's just got to keep his nose clean in this next one. It's obviously a longer race, and with the pit stops and everything. So, and of course, we're expecting some safety cars after that one. I think for the next one is a safe call to make. A lot of fast guys now up the back due to that little kerfuffle at the end there, and there was just action going on everywhere. It was almost needed three television screens to see it all. But yeah, he'll definitely be one to watch if he can just keep his nose clean. Benefit from the safety cars, don't cause them. I think is the best message to get out there.
Yep, that's exactly right. I would agree with you that probably the best message to go out is, stay out of trouble, be sensible, don't go and cause a safety car like that. So there's a bit that's got to be worked through with all of that, and a few drivers are going to be licking a few of their wounds, I think, after this one, and they will need to go back and reassess. And I think Bailey Hall sort of called it perfectly in the chat there. That was eventful. Very, very, very eventful, unfortunately. Well, what we're going to do is we're going to take a short break here in commentary, and we will return on the other side of this with race number 2 of the evening. Don't go anywhere. Thanks for staying around, everybody. You're watching the ASR Development Series Championship, Round 9, from the streets of Long Beach, California. A very, very eventful first race of the night, race 19 of the championship. Hopefully, Lockie Lock, race 2 is going to be a little bit better. It's a longer race, so it doesn't have as much, I guess, urgency to it. But we will hopefully see what happens in around about, 3 or 4 minutes time when we get underway.
Yeah, well, how could we describe race 1? It was pretty boring with the safety cars for the most of it, and then, well, the one lap dash definitely gave us some entertainment, but not the kind that we'd like to see. So hopefully everyone can smarten up for the next one and just maybe tone it back just that little bit, just that 3 notches, just so we can have some nice clean racing and maybe aren't just sitting behind a safety car for the majority of it. But yeah, Ethan Knight, out of nowhere, taking the win in that one.
That is
well done.
Yeah, absolutely. That is the biggest Bradbury, I think, of the year. I think we called it Bradbury on, I think it might have been Anthony Green at some point. I think it might have been the Winton round, I think it was. We said he did a bit of a Bradbury, but that is definitely a Bradbury. I mean, Dostal threw that one away. There's no ifs, buts, or maybes about it. He had the lead, and he didn't look comfortable at the restarts. That last restart and the restart before that, he did not look comfortable at all. He was defending all the time. I actually didn't think his teammate was putting him under a huge amount of pressure either. I thought that it was all fair in that, and he just happened to be there at the time when Dostal went a little bit too hard into, I think it's turn number 7, and threw it away. Like you were talking about this earlier, those tyres getting too much of a temperature hit, getting a huge injection of temperature at the wrong time. You try and lean on them a little bit and they give up, and I think that's what Dostal did there. He tried to carry a bit too much speed through that corner, lent on the tyre a bit too much. It gave up. He hit the wall and he was too slow off the corner, and the 3 or 4 cars that were there just went straight on through.
Yeah, it's all on his own there, unfortunately for Dostal. I mean, he had that win in the bag had he just held on that little bit longer, but at least if it couldn't be him, it was his teammates. So good for the team points, not so much probably for his championship campaign, but I'm sure he'll bounce back in this one, and well, hopefully a bit smarter from cars around them as well. We should see him battling up the front once again.
Yes, I think so. I mean, if I look at the development series sort of standings coming into the night, we saw that Dostal was obviously second. Ethan Knight was 6th in the standings. Up until this point, Knight had not had a win all season long. He'd had a 2nd place and a pair of 3rds. So he becomes, I think he's about the 7th or 8th different person to take a win in this season for the Super 2 drivers, let alone the series overall. So good to have another driver added to the winners list. I believe that actually might be, I'll have to go back and check last year's records, but it might even be his first actual proper win in ASR in general in the Top Flight series. So if it is, a big congratulations to him, because he thoroughly deserved that. He actually started very, very well from 4th place on the road. He was 3rd, and with everything that went on, Smith went on a bit too deep at the back straight. He then went up to 2nd. So, and we've spoken about this. This is what Matt Cecil has tended to do quite well, is just keep yourself out of trouble. Pick up the positions when they're there for you and capitalise on the mistakes of others. And he did all of that in that particular race. So he's a thoroughly deserving winner of that race, even if you want to call it a race, because there was so limited racing laps. Out of the 13, I think we'd be lucky to have gotten, 4 or 5 maximum in that race. And a few drivers, I think, are already looking at that and thinking, what, we're really looking forward to getting this much racing around 26 laps, if that's going to be the case. But hopefully it's not the case, and we actually get a reasonably good race for the final race of the night. Well, it's not too much longer, and we are going to be going racing here on the streets of Long Beach. So 26 laps this time is the journey, and we are just about there. So you see here cars starting to populate on the grid, just starting to become very sparsely populated. As you can see that Dostal is starting out of 5th, so that little mistake from him in that race has cost him 4 spots. He's going to be starting well and truly behind his teammate here, Ethan Knight. So Knight is on the pole and waiting on maybe 1 or 2 other drivers just to make themselves known to the grid. Rhodey, I think, is the last one, and he's made it to the grid. So here we go. A little bit of a different looking setup for race number 2. So Ethan Knight on pole by virtue of his win. Angus Brown, well, I think that's a career best finish for Angus Brown as well. So congratulations for Angus up to second. Daryl Callaghan capitalises on the mistakes to move up to third over Alex Kiddis in fourth. So remember those two came together in the early going in race one, and their positions have gone back the other way. Brandon Dostal in fifth. He'll be looking to make good on or make good for his mistake in that first race with Anthony Green in sixth. So he sort of kept himself rather quiet in that one and out of trouble. Damon McDonald in seventh with Hayden Cupid in eighth. And then you have Darren Lognan, so you're right, he managed to get into position number 9, so he got himself out of 11th into the 10. And Luke Speck, he went backwards a little bit there, so he's going to be starting in position number 10. So he was up around 6th and 7th for most of that first race. He's now starting in 10th. Palfrey to 11th. Now remember, he was right down the back of the field after the very first safety car, so that's a really good recovery from him to get up to 11th, ahead of Mitchell Steele-Allison in 12th. McNichol 13th, ahead of Damo Hitter, who's the first of the Super 3 runners, so that's a little bit of a shock. He's missed a few rounds this year, but that's what happens when you keep your nose clean, you stay out of trouble, you get a Super 3 win in class. Ruin out of 15th, another driver that sort of kept their nose clean and managed to avoid some of the carnage. I did see him missing a bonnet in race 1, but he's managed to recover well, starting 15th alongside Steve Burko, who we're led to believe actually got a little bit of a tag in that final corner, although we couldn't see it. He was one of the cars that went around in the final corner. Matt Cecil in 17th and Darren Kemp in 18th. So all three of them came off really worse for wear in that last sort of little stanza at the end of race number 1. Ryan Walsh in 19th with Angus Wells, who's missed the start. Either he's missed the start or he's had to go back to the pits because he's not done his fuel or something because he was on the grid. So that's a bit of a whoopsie for car 88. So he's going to be a full sector behind the cars before they even, before you even get halfway around the lap. He's going to be a good chunk of the time behind. Ryan Smith out of 21st. Big moment hanging over his head. What can he do in this one to make amends? Steve Warwick 22nd. Again, another driver caught up in that last lap, last corner kerfuffle. Luke Yeager in 23rd, ahead of Glenn Miles. And then Melody Smith, Mark Davey and Rhodey rounding out the top, or actually all 27 of the cars that are in the field tonight. Well, is it going to be a case of second verse same as the first, or is it going to be a much better race than what we had about 25 to 30 minutes ago? We're about to find out. Race number 20 of the ASR Development Series Championship. The 80-kilometre race around Long Beach. Only soft tyres on these cars. What's going to happen here? Rhodey's just earned himself a drive-through penalty for a jump start, but the pole sitters away poorly, Lockie. Very poorly.
Paint Doctor around the outside. Can he hold the inside line as we go 3 wide? Knight still holding the lead. He's taken it through turn 1.
Oh, and a car around as well. I saw there was a car on the inside that had gone around, and it's Ruan in the in NZ Snipes' machine, but he gets it pointing the right way. Single car situation, not a problem. There's Angus Wells, who's just been released as the leaders trip the first sector intermediate, which is between turns 4 and 5, and off we go. So very poor start from Knight, but he managed to hold off Callaghan. He managed to hold off Kiddis. Brown's gone backwards in this one, and he's back to 4th. But somehow or another, he managed to go just a little bit deeper under brakes into turn 1. And, well, surprise, surprise, there it is, straight away.
I mean, at least we got a little further, but, yeah, that's, again, unfortunate. I'm trying
to work out actually who it is and what's gone on there, because it's something's not been quite right, and I'm wondering if it's. Oh, here we go. Yep, I've just we're picking up on what it is that's gone on, and I think this one's a possibly a single driver issue by the look of it. Just waiting to get what looks like McNichol might be the cause of it. And I think he's just done this all on his own. Yep, here we go. So we do have the replay of this one to bring to you to understand what this one was. Now, this one I don't think is a problem there. I think there's been a moment for McNichol. He's lost it under brake. He's compression locked the rear. The game probably doesn't show it that well from that angle, but he's compression locked the rear and caused a bit of a log jam. So that one, I'm afraid, is look, that one is completely different compared to what the other incidents that we saw in race number 1, which were, I guess, to coin the right word, they were avoidable.
Yep, that one's just a first lap error. Nothing really to be pinned on anyone there. It was just an unfortunate incident, wrong place, wrong time.
Yep.
But well, Callaghan into second.
Yep.
After lap 1.
Yep, Callaghan up to second on lap 1, and well, look at the margin here as well. So right now, Ethan Knight is out pursuing the safety car, but look, there's no real need for the drivers to really catch up at any great rate. All these drivers are doing the right thing here. They're preserving their tyres a little bit, I'd say here, so they're looking at this in a different light compared to what Knight is actually doing. He's gone out really hard, caught the back of the safety car, and everybody else is sort of looking after the rubber a bit. Now Knight realises what's going on. He's actually backed away from the safety car. I mean, they do need to keep within reasonable striking distance of the safety car, which is, good, second or so up the road at the moment. There we go. But I'm not expecting anybody to pit on this lap unless you're down the back and you've got absolutely nothing to lose. I mean, come on in, grab a set of soft tyres or something like that and do something with it. I mean, if you're Stuart McNichol, you're probably going to come in because you've probably got a little bit of damage, but I'm not sure why he's coming in there. I mean, he's the last car on the road. Him and Angus Wells, if there's nothing to lose there, they should actually come in and get another set of tyres and see what they can do at the restart there. But maybe they're leaving it until a bit later on in this period to decide what they want to do. Now, importantly, with the safety car, right there on that line there, you can see, we'll actually grab it for you just on the broadcast. You can swing the camera around. You can see there is the red and yellow line that is there. So that is effectively the safety car blend line. So when you come out of the pits, you have to stay to the left-hand side, or driver's left-hand side of that yellow line, and you can only come back onto the racing circuit once you clear that yellow and red line there. Consequently, for the drivers coming down the front straight, you can't then come across the circuit. You can't break that red line and try and open up the next corner. It's an absolute no-no. So if you're ever in doubt about what's happened there, you go have a look at what they do normally in IndyCar, but that's what the procedure is for the pit lane. You cannot cross over until the solid line ends to coming out of the pits to turn in for turn 1, and you cannot then cross across that red line to try and open up the corner if you're on the racing circuit going into turn number 2 either. Keep forgetting turn 1 is actually the bend in the front straight. It's not the first corner itself that turns to the left. It's that big long sweeping right hand bend in the front straight. Knight continues to lead the field here, and no callers on pit road, so drivers that are down the back of the field are not really in a mood at the moment to take service. I'm looking at some of the chat I'm seeing in the live chat at the moment, Lockie, and probably I think Tim Redmond's got the money going here, is that if there's safety cars galore again in this sort of situation, you're going to have nobody's pretty much going to need to stop because the tyres won't have actually done enough. There's no rule around the mandatory pit stop, but it seems like if there is a litany of safety cars again, then everybody's going to be able to get home. And yes, it's going to make for a boring race, but everyone's going to get home on the same set of tyres, which will be unheard of. That a soft tyre does 26 laps, but it's not going to work very hard.
Yeah, let's hope we don't get to that point. We'd like some actual racing this time, I think, because these safety car periods have been pretty boring, to say the least. Yeah. Not a lot to comment on so far in this one. I mean, the top few have shuffled up a little bit. Ethan Knight still leads, which I didn't think after that start. I really didn't think that Ethan Knight was going to be leading.
No.
After lap 1, I mean, he absolutely butchered that one, and the Paint Doctor car came out of nowhere, up his left-hand side, and challenged him around that outside. Of course, the outside of the corner isn't where you want to be. Through that little kink in turn 1, and are we going green this time around? I think we are.
Yeah, safety car's in the lane, so Ethan Knight's got control of the field. So he actually has he'd gapped the field a little bit coming through the hairpin, but now he's got to get control of the field here, and he's done a fairly good job of that. And gets down to start-finish line, and he's gone now. So it looked like he left that run fairly late, actually. And now he's got to play some defence, but he's now going down the correct side of the road on the approach to turn number 2. And Brown, well, what did Brown do? He sent up the inside, got it done. He got it done up the inside at turn number 1. Now there's been a little bit of an issue. I think it might be a timing glitch here, because Brown's showing as the lead car, but he's got a stop-go penalty there that's going to be cleared. But I think things might hopefully settle down when we get to the timing intermediate. Maybe something's not quite right there. We'll have to get those corrected.
Yeah, definitely something going on there. But well, Knight left that to the latest moment, and then some. He went super late, and well, if you're Callaghan, they crossed the line before they went, so he could have gone and just taken the lead from Knight there. So interesting that Knight just left it to pass the line, but he has kept his lead, and he now leads us into the final sector.
Yeah, we're going to need to actually do a little bit of a change of laps for a few drivers there that will be getting some blue flags, because Knight is clearly the leader from Callaghan. Oh, another safety car as well, so that will then cause further headaches. And
you are kidding me.
Another one, and just trying to keep an eye out for who it might be this time around. I can see who this one is probably now. It looks like it might be for Glenn Miles. That's going to cause a bit of a drama for us here as we head on over to the Paint Doctor replay. And
just noticed there as well, Ryan Smith DNF.
Yes, so that's another one. He was ahead of this, and Glenn Miles straight into a tyre barrier, and I'm a bit surprised that that's had a yellow flag flown for that.
Must have been something somewhere else.
Might have been something somewhere else. That's the only thing that we could see based on what we were looking at there, but the only other thing would be about what might have happened to Ryan Smith, which we aren't quite sure about what's happened there. We are going to have to keep a bit of an eye out for what's happened there on him. There's Miles now having recovered. So I dare say it's... Oh, actually, no, I think we've now uncovered what might have actually happened. This is probably the true cause of the safety car, is actually for what's happened to Ryan Smith. So we'll bring that one up for you now, because that will be definitely not the Glenn Miles incident. It's actually for Ryan Smith. And this is the reason for his non-finish. So he's rounding up Jacob Palfrey at the moment here. This is on the approach to turn 2. Now that's all well and good and fine, and it looks like Warwick tried to follow him through there, couldn't quite get it done. But then the check up here, Palfrey straight in the rear of him, and then Warwick gave him a serve for good measure. He had nowhere to go, and that will be the reason for why Smith is out of business. He basically got nosed into a retirement there, so...
Yep, those concrete walls will destroy engines if you hit them at the right angle, and I'd say that's what's happened there.
Yep, so Warwick wrong place at the wrong time there, just with, he had nowhere to go in that one and shunted him out there, but that's a mistake, a driving mistake from Palfrey, and that's what's put him into that situation where Smith has unfortunately not finished this race. So that's unfortunate, but there's a few, I guess, a few tales of woe sort of to be told there. But it actually does give us a little bit of an opportunity. It actually gives the stewards a little bit of an opportunity here to just fix fix up some of the issues that occurred at the restart there. So it's actually putting drivers back into the positions where they should be on the circuit. So remember at the beginning of the race, at that last restart there, Knight and Callaghan actually were clearly in front of the field. They'd been docked a lap, so they have now been put back into their rightful positions. Now I'm noticing as well, Darren Lognan has gone down a lap. I'm just trying to see where he is on the timing, just to see if that is actually legitimate. Yeah, it is actually. It is legitimate. He's been in the lane, so it's gone down a lap though, which is rather curious. But that will be the length of pit lane.
Yeah, long pit lane definitely could be the factor there, which it's an interesting one. But obviously, after the next pit stop cycle, granted we don't have any more safety cars, he will be promoted probably back up a bit further in the order. But yeah, interesting to see how he works his way back up from where he is now.
Yeah, that'll be the curious one for me. Yeah, he's been in the lane. He's definitely been in the lane and taken service. I'm just trying to work out whether or not the going down a lap is actually a legitimate thing or not. That's the curious piece for me, because he was obviously stationary in the lane for a sort of long period of time. Actually, I reckon he had some damage. Just having a bit of a look through some things here at the moment. He actually came into the pit lane. He was well off the back of the field. Yes, so he is legitimately one lap down. So he was caught up. I guess he must have been caught up in an incident somewhere. He's actually might have been in Lisbon actually. Yeah. So either way, actually there was a further incident on top of the Smith incident. It looks like there was actually another incident that we've actually got a replay of here. We'll actually go and take a look at this, because this is sort of most unusual. So this now fully brings the picture full circle. So this is on the lap that Smith had his issue. They're racing to line. Lachlan, oh bang, stacks on the mill. So that'll be why, and that's why Lachlan's in the pits. So he did that all on his own, ran into a tyre barrier, and he is legitimately one lap down as a result. So he's had to let the whole entire field go through, and then has come out on the back of the snake and has gone one lap down, because the whole, I did check it, the whole field went past him while he was stationary in the pit lane. So that is a legitimate one lap down on the field now, and there's very little opportunity to come back from that unless you get a lucky dog, and that means you need another safety car to make that happen. But hey, at the end of the day, he's actually made a pit stop. He might actually be okay from here. We'll never know. He'll get that lap. He may get that lap back, but it probably may not work in his favour. Here we go, back to green flag run again. Knight a little bit sluggish away. Oops, what's going on there? That's rather dangerous there. Knight did not control that restart all that well. He went after the control line, almost checked the field up, and now needs to get a wriggle on with it here into turn number one.
I'm wondering if he doesn't know where the control line is, because that's the second time obviously he's done that. Similar spot as let the field go, but yeah, he's just left it super late past the control line, and like I said before, you can pass after the control line, so we want to be careful now if we have another restart that he doesn't do that again.
No, you have to be very careful actually with all of that that's going on. You don't want to be caught doing that as well, but what it's done is he's got a little bit of an air margin now, but then we've got Brown, who's now in P2, who got that move done before the last safety car came out, and he's now being pursued by Callaghan. So this will be a little bit of interesting fight here. Now, what of Brandon Dostal? Because he was caught up in that kerfuffle involving Lachlan. So too was Green. He's ninth. So tucked in behind Anthony Green here, and on we go. A bit of nose-to-nose shoving. Green gets through. Oh, that was a very smart bit of move. Was that Warwick, or was that... yeah, that was Steve Warwick who got through on Brandon Dostal. So the time Green check the field up there. Warwick very smartly down the inside at the hairpin. And Dostal's going to argue this back here now down to turn number 2. Warwick's going to have to defend. He leaves him a bit of room. Going to make him go the long way. Going to make him go the long way, and he gets it done.
What a move there from Dostal.
Oh, he's not done yet, though. He's not done yet, though. The car squirmed and squeezed itself, managed to get through on its run to the water fountain, but that was a hairy moment for Dostal there. Warwick absolutely made him earn that pass.
Some 90s British touring car stuff here. Rubbin's racing, and well, they're definitely rubbing. Yeah, good move from Dostal. I'm curious to know if he has damage from that past incident there. Obviously the one that 31. From that, it doesn't look like he's got much damage, but yeah, that was a good move, and well, he made it stick. So well done.
Absolutely. He's a Super 3 class leader at the moment, Damo Kelly, or Damo Hitter, I believe I should say. Sorry, I do apologise. Damo Hitter in 12th place outright. Very nice place to be. Just 2 cars further back, separated by Jacob Palfrey, is the Super 3 points leader, Matt Cecil. So he's having a much better run in this one. A couple of drivers a little bit loose off the final corner there. If I can get an hallelujah, because we've just completed 2 laps under green flag. So that's probably the most amount of green flag laps I think we've had consecutively all night. So hopefully field starting to get the groove here and learn the lesson. Although I say that, there's a yellow flag out here at the second corner, and it's the race leader who's around.
No.
Knight's lost it, and that gives the lead to Angus Brown. So there it is. I was about to say, well, I jinxed it. I said hallelujah, and then there was a problem, and it's Ethan Knight who has caused the safety car by being in the middle of the road and sort of struggling to get going there, and I think, and he's retired as well, so he must have been hit after all of that. We are just trying to wind this back on the replay to see what's happened. He's done it all on his own, so the teammates have had incidents, carried too much speed into the corner, and yep, got that there. And let's have a look at them all go through. Geez, some good evasive action here. Look at them all going through. Oh, Matt Cecil went straight into a fence. Yeah, that's really lucky for him. Oh, and then Kiddis came along, and then that just caused then stacks on the mill there. That's what triggered the safety car. Not too many stationary cars, so a bit of good luck, and then a bit of bad luck, I think, there as well. And I think Knight, that extra collision, that's the end of his night.
It's quite interesting seeing there was a few cars there going too wide when the yellows were out, which is definitely a curious case. Obviously, you can't overtake when the yellow flags are waving, so I'm kind of wondering why there was some cars going too wide, and that's obviously why Knight got hit there. He was in a precarious spot, but you could fit 1 car to the right and 1 car to the left. Unfortunately, not 2 cars to the right.
Now there's activity on pit road as well here. So Jacob Palfrey's in, Matt Cecil's in, unsurprising. So those 2 are in. I believe Angus Wells is also in, but he was in before that safety car happened. So I think he either made a mistake or he was down the back of the field or something, but he has gone a lap down now. There he is. He's actually just touring out the pit lane now. So he's actually gone a lap down in all of this. And I think he came in before the safety car was actually called. So that's a similar situation to what happened with Darren Lockman. So Rhodey we're now seeing is a retirement here as well.
We're just going to pick up on that. Yeah, that's, again, another DNF for Rhodey. That's definitely not going to help his Super 3 campaign. Yeah, that's unfortunate.
That's very unfortunate. Very, very unfortunate for Rhodey there.
Very costly as well. A huge haul of points now. Gone.
Now, importantly, this is very important. I've got some eyes on things here. Jacob Palfrey's gotten out ahead of the pace car. Matt Cecil is not going to get out ahead of the pace car here, I don't think, because the line is where that little traffic cone is, and he's in trouble. So he's now officially scored a lap down now. He cannot get this position back. He's going to have to fall in behind the race leader. He's now officially 1 lap down and will be obliged to get out of the way at the safety car restart here. Whoops, safety car just caught the inside wall there, I think.
Yeah, the safety car's doing some drifting out there. I suppose he's got to switch it up a little bit. He's been doing it quite a lot tonight, so... yeah, well, that's unfortunate for Matt Cecil. Now a lap down, and it's going to be interesting to see if he does get a lucky dog here and get that lap back.
Well, there is the way. I was about to say there is a lucky dog being executed right now. It's Darren Loughnane, so he's actually very lucky. He got that lap back because that was key for him. Remember, we were just talking about the fact he was the first car 1 lap down. And he needed another safety car to get back on the lead lap, and he just got it. So, he's binned it.
Just lost the wheel. He's
binned it. He has absolutely binned it. He's blown the opportunity to get back onto the. This is unprecedented, ladies and gentlemen.
You are kidding me.
You are joking me. What has he done? So he has. This is a moment in ASR history. Do not adjust your television set, or in cases of if you're sitting on a computer, do not adjust your computer monitor. Darren Loughnane has binned it under safety car, trying to execute the lucky dog. Oh my goodness gracious me!
Unbelievable.
Unbelievable. That is a first. I have never in my life seen a driver executing the lucky dog bin it as they were executing the lucky dog and retire from the race, let alone they let the safety car hit them as well. Now there's more activity on pit road, drivers coming in to take service. Now I'm wondering if some drivers have gone in and gone with less fuel and trying to cover the possibility of maybe doing a shorter run on a less fuel and maybe make some pace, and then have no choice but to come in and take some service, because this is the halfway point, so you're not obligated to stop. That's the difference. You are not obligated to stop under the safety car. You're not obligated to stop in this race. If it was a green flag race end to end, then it would actually require you to come in and make a stop because your tyres would be gone. But this is going to what Tim Redmond said in the chat a little bit earlier. There's going to be drivers that have gone and tanked the car and just made sure that all they need to do when they get in is just change their tyres and keep going if they need to do that. So some people are going to be making it to the finish here quite comfortably, and others are going to have stopped potentially. And if there's more safety cars that come out, they're going to be the big losers out of this. So they're hedging their bets right now that there's going to be enough green flag running that means that drivers are going to be vulnerable at the back end of this race, and that they're going to have to pit later than they optimally would, and they're going to lose the track position at the end of the day. So I'm not so sure if that's the right strategy call to make. I would have gone into a cover strategy mode and just waited as long as possible. But some people may have picked a bad strategy hand here and gone with a short fill and try to put in a bit of fuel at the stop as well as with the tyres. So this will be interesting. Let's see what happens here. We're back to a green flag situation here. The penalties on that side of the equation there will be cleared. But let's see what goes on as we get to a restart here. That's a better restart. Brown very much aware of where the control line was, and he's gone.
And the Super 3 car of Matt Cecil isn't helping Callaghan's cause here. He didn't get a good jump, and that has hindered the Paint Doctor car's jump off the restart as well.
Yeah, and this is a problem now too, because where Cecil is a really awkward situation for all these other cars that have got to get around him. There's still cars actually coming around the final corner at the moment. You see what Cecil's having to do here. He's having to be super careful with what he does, and then Green needs the racing line, and Cecil's right on it, and he got served by Dostal there, and he put himself in that position, so he's not got anybody to blame but himself for that one. He's got to be able to pick and choose when you need to be able to get around people. Yes, you need to leave the margin for error, but you can't go parking the car on the racing line like that. He needed to be on the opposite side of the equation, or he needed to get out of the throttle. now he's sort of back to whereabouts he would normally have been, even for a lap traffic situation. But all fast guys have gone through now. And then you've got Brown at the head of the field, Callaghan second. Then you've got the teammate for Angus Brown, Luke Speck. He's basically almost like a rear tail gunner at the moment. He's banking up the queue here. He's got Cupid, or Cuppet I should say. Then he's got the number 3 machine, the 666 entry actually, of Damon McDonald, who's holding up, who's that tucked there? It's Anthony Green tucked in behind there. So this is an enticing little battle here. This might be a change position here. Green's going to possibly look down the outside of the Paint Doctor machine here. Oh, Cuppet, God, he's got to big down the escape road. That takes one element out of the equation.
Yeah, and all on his own there. Just front tyres up. Oh, we got a car around at the
fountain. It's Matt Cecil. And it's Matt Cecil. So that's he's out of harm's way. That'll be a localised yellow. He just needs to wait for the traffic to go through and get it going, which he does, and he's back in business. So that's all fine. No problems there. He's back underway, and we stay green. Cupid, coincidentally, after going down the escape road in about 5th place, he's now come back onto the race in 17th place. So big chunk of time lost. That's what happens in a safety car situation. You just lose lots and lots and lots of time, hand over fist. Brandon Dostal now, whoops, he's going to get a free one there. He got a massive free spot there because Steele Allison went into the tyre barrier. He went way too deep into...
missing their braking marker there.
Yep, not as bad as what we've seen from some tonight, but he has made a bit of a right hash of that, and he coughs up 6th place Dostal, and then one of the Super 3 Nissans. I think that's who was that one? That was Luke Yeager in the back shot there. He was having a bit of a moment. How's this? Look at this for Damo Hitter. He's up to 8th place outright in Super 3, trailed by Mark Davey in 9th. So 2 Super 3 cars legitimately inside the top 10 because they've been able to behave themselves. But what is their strategy at the moment? Because if we get a big bunch of green flag running here, and we possibly could, because there is a bit of field spread at the moment by virtue of a few people having come in, they might need to stop. So what happens to them with the drivers that are behind them on much fresher rubber?
Yeah, and what happens here with the Super 3 car versus the Super 2 cars? Does it keep clean, or will it get messy? Leaning on panels there.
Burko got through okay, and Palfrey's the next one that's got to line it up. Now, they're not obligated to give the position up here. It is track position, and it's outright, so there's no rules that really apply here. It's a case of the Super 2 cars, if they're faster, they've got to get through cleanly. They've got to make that move happen, and you know what? Mark's giving them quite a nice amount of space. So, good job there. He's making Palfrey earn this one, and now he's giving him the ground there, and job done. So it took a little whoops, and then McNichol accidentally caught out. So that's the nature of what happens at that corner though, but Palfrey had to earn that one, and he certainly did. Davey absolutely made him earn it.
Yep, beautiful pass there too. Just synced up every one of those corners and sent it down the inside. And obviously that move proving to be a solid one tonight.
And some lap traffic again. Glenn Miles now a bit of a moment going into turn number 2, and he had to checked up a few drivers in the field, so they've all managed to get through here. Now that's actually, I think it's cost Spec more importantly than anything else, because he's now fallen 2 spots. He was 3rd, he's now down to 5th, so McDonald's gone through, Green's gone through, and now Dostal's gnawing away on the back of the number 13, and he'll get this down the inside here. So what about, I won't say never actually, not quite yet. So Spec's going to have a bit of a challenge here, or is he just going to give that one up? No, not quite. So he's just going to let that one slide, I think, for the moment, and see what happens, because both of these drivers potentially, they may need to stop again, just about how much life they've got in these tyres, and if they can take them through to the end. So I'm curious here to see who's actually stopped and who hasn't. So I think the first of the drivers potentially that has stopped probably is Alex Kiddis here in 17th, Lockie. So he was in along with Melody Smith and Matt Cecil and a bunch of others at the last safety car. So he's actually got some pretty handy pace. He was purple in Sector 1 on the last lap. He was okay in Sector 2. It'll be interesting to see what his lap time is this time around. And it's the fastest lap of the race, so 121.7. That's only 0.7 of a second quicker than the fastest lap outright from our current leader, Angus Brown. But importantly, it's a full 2.5 seconds quicker than the last lap around for the leader's best laps. And while Brown's in the 24s, Kiddis is blazing along in the 21s. So, there's Cecil around again. The lap time delta is proving to be a huge offset here, but with better part of 8 laps to go, what's got to happen with all these cars out in front? Are they still going to need to pit, because it's getting awfully close at the front here? Brown's under some pressure now.
Yeah. Oh,
Callaghan
down the inside.
Job done.
He's got the move done. Well done.
Clean pass, very clean pass. Brown saw it coming, gave him plenty of space now. Callaghan's going to chase him across the road here. He's got to be careful. The defence says you can only make one defensive move. He's picked that line now. Now out of this corner, he can pick the next line he wants, but he can't move again. But he's just going to use that sort of half run to the next turn and tip it in for turn number 1. And he's got the lead of this race. So Paint Doctor 06 to the 4. And this is about the 3rd or 4th race that he has led this year. Now remember, the Paint Doctor cars took a handful of consecutive wins between Perth and Darwin as well, had 3 on the bounce, and they had a good solid run through the middle part of the season. They just haven't been able to keep that going consistently enough throughout the whole entire year. And the second of the Paint Doctor cars, McDonald tried to get down the inside there, and there was a bit of contact. So it was very briefly a Paint Doctor 1-2, but only for a few split seconds.
Yeah, and it looks like Angus Brown has cooked his tyres. It looks like he's got nothing left. He's really trying just to hold on here to the top 3 as Callaghan drives off into the sunset. Yep,
he's driving away quite nicely at the moment. Green up the inside. Now McDonald, he's going to have to go the long way around the hairpin though, so Green... that's a little bit cheeky. He had to come to almost a complete stop there to make that car turn at the final corner. That now means Brown's vulnerable here. McDonald's going to have a look at him for the second time. He's got the high ground here through turn 1. Now he's got the inside for turn 2. Brown concedes defeat. As you said, I think he realises his tyres are cooked. He's going to try and nurse it home here without having to stop.
And
no, he's butchered it.
In the fence.
And he's butchered it. If I'm him, you need to drive that forward, because you're potentially going to cut off the avenue of escape there. I think he might be gone too. Yes, it is. So that's out of business there. And another safety car called. So that is a game changer. That's a big game changer in this one, because it was a reprieve for Brown. But it also means that nobody else in this field potentially would have to stop. They might be able to actually just make it home from here. That's wow, what a shame. We have seen some really, really unusual things happen in this race. Actually, Steve Warwick's retired as well, I've just noticed. So I'm wondering whether or not there might have been something else going on there as well. So McDonald out. Damo Hitter out. Current Super 3 leader on the road out of business as well. So there's all sorts of things going on here at the moment. Now, what's going to happen is there going to be pit stops. Green in. So Green pulls the trigger. Brown's going to stay out. Now, I don't know if this is the right move.
Yeah, I thought the leaders might have stayed out. Like, they've got not many laps left after this safety car period. If you can look after your tyres, you've got the track position advantage then for the restart. But Green going for an interesting strategy. I don't think it's going to pay off.
No, I
really don't think so.
No, I don't think so either. I'm just keeping an eye on where he is in the field. Maybe Cupid's actually come in as well. So too McNichol. Green's currently taking service. So he's going to be middle of the around 15th or something at this rate when he comes out, just depending on where everybody else is on the track. Like, I'm looking at the likes of Alex Kiddis and that, who have already gone through, I think. and assumed a reasonable position. Yeah, so those guys that have already stopped. So Kiddis, who came in with a good fresh set of boots, he's actually now elevated himself up the order. So he might be a danger here because he's got a good set of tyres, whereas everyone else has got some worn rubber around him, and he's in 10th, and he's the first of the cars that have stopped. So the stop under the previous safety car has worked really well to his benefit, and everybody else ahead of him has got a problem because they've got to either really look after their tyres and control this restart, or they're not going to make it. So, wow, this is rather interesting here.
Just taking a look at the live chat, apparently Burko may have pitted as well. I'm not too sure if that's the case.
No,
but,
I'm not 100% sure either. I'm actually just going to see if I can check that. Just with where the safety cars have fallen, there's been 3 of them, and I don't believe that's an accurate statement. I don't believe he has. I don't believe he has pitted. If I look at where he started the race, I think he was down the order, but I think because of everything that's been going on, he's just picked up spots. Yeah, he started in 16th, and I think he's just picked up some races as he's gone, or some spots as he's gone along. But ahead of Alex Kiddis, so Luke Yeager has found himself back to the head of the Super 3 standings in this race, and he's got quite a considerable margin over the next best car, which is Brian Walsh, who's directly behind him on the road, but Walsh is a lap down, so everybody else in Super 3 is a lap down to the Super 3 leader on the road at the moment, Mike, which is almost unheard of.
That's that's definitely spectacular. I don't think I've ever seen.
Oh, sorry, I apologise. Actually, sorry, I apologise. I've just eaten my words. The Super 3 leader is actually Mark Davey, who's in behind Jacob Palfrey. There he is. I do apologise. So I just missed him as I was cycling through. And there we go. So
Okay, yeah. I just got word in as well. Apparently, Burko has pitted.
Well, that's interesting because, yeah, I'm just looking through the timing and I couldn't see where it looked like he'd been in there. So he must have just been right place, right time to sort of pop in. So we have definitely, if that is the case, we have missed that one. There's been so much going on, you just don't know where to look in this one. Now, safety car's going around again. So Callaghan, this is music to his ears. So the longer this safety car goes on for, the better it is for his tyres. I mean, the better it is for Brown as well, but it just means for him, because we'd already seen that he's got a fair bit of defence that he's going to have to put up. He might have to defend for maybe 1 lap instead of 2, so we'll see what happens there. Oh. What on earth did Smith just do? In the pits?
The good old Austin Powers in the pit lane. Oh, he's done it again.
Yeah, so something's... I just noticed, I just saw that, what was going on there, just on the corner of my eye. We'll cut to a replay of that, because, well, this has been one of those unusual nights. So let's have a look here, as we go over to the replay here. Oh, that's careless. I know the walls are grabbing a bit, but that's careless. That's like taking your hands off the wheel, and then, yeah, it's running into the concrete where the concrete walls join each other, but that seems very careless to me, like almost like you've just taken your hands off the wheel, or you're having a sip of the bottle, or whatever you're doing, and yeah, you've made a bit of a I don't know what to call that.
That's yeah, she's definitely had some sort of lapse of concentration. Yeah, just I think it's odd. It's odd to do it once, but twice is even more strange.
Well, we don't know if we're going to go back around again, or if we're going to get another lap under safety car, or if we're going to be going back to green flag running here. If we're going back to green flag, I was expecting that Callaghan should be starting to get control of the field by about now, but he's fairly close to the safety car, but he's checking up a little bit now, and no, we're going around again. So this is another lap under safety car, so I think this will be the third, potentially. under the safety car. So this has got a bit of an interesting sort of connotation to it, because you look at what's happening for Callaghan. So Callaghan and Brown, this is music to their ears because they have less laps to worry about the likes of Steve Burko and Alex Kiddis behind who have got fresher tyres. So it's taking away opportunities for those two drivers to well and truly grab a couple of spots before the end of this race. For your contenders in the championship, there they are. So there's Dostin in 5th and Luke Speck in 4th. So that's sort of cementing them in place at the moment, and there'll be no quarter given between those two, but I don't expect them to do anything silly in the next couple of laps, whatever laps of them remaining. And then everybody else that's trapped 1 or 2 laps down is a bit of a concern. Now Matt Cecil's just retired from this as well, so we've only got 19 runners left in this race. So big DNF for the Super 2 points, sorry, the Super 3 points leader. And Mitchell Allison saying that the safety car's in this lap. Well, he's actually still in this race at 17th. I wouldn't be typing in the chat if I was him right now. I'd be concentrating about going back to green flag running in a few minutes. So 1 lap dash. Now remember the rules. We did have an overtime situation before, so there'll be 1 attempt. So they'll run the lap. There'll be 1 attempt at this finish. Then if a safety car comes out at all on that lap, it'll go into overtime. And then if there's 1 failed attempt, there'll be 1 attempt at overtime, and then it'll finish under yellow if another safety car appears. That's typically how it works. But for Callaghan, another time that he's led the race this year, and he's looking for his 3rd win of the season if he can make this work, and be the 4th for a Paint Doctor car this year. So let's see what happens. 11 corners, 3 kilometres of racing. Let's sort it out as Callaghan takes him back to the restart here. What's he got in store? Because here comes Brown, and he's going to have to defend.
Interested to see now if Brown has the tyres to take it to the Paint Doctor machine. Holding through turn 1, Burko down the inside to the 2nd place.
Yep, Burko down the inside, so that's crucial. Brown couldn't hold off the Paint Doctor, so the couldn't hold off Burko for too much longer, but this is where Burko's going to challenge it here. I think he's going to put the pressure on him and then maybe have a lunge down into turn 6. Callaghan loose, that's the cue Burko needs. There he goes. So that's all it took. A little bit of a mistake, and Burko through to the lead of this race. Round the outside he goes. Job done. Look at Palfrey. Palfrey's coming like a steam train at the moment. He's up to 3rd place. He might get 2nd down here at the end of the back straight. Callaghan, bit of a late break there, locked a break. That's an opportunity now for the SES Team Kiwi car. He's going to nab 2nd here on the run to turn number 8. Job done.
Job done for Burko. He's taken the lead and absolutely run off with it on the last lap. It's interesting, I don't think we've had a leader that's led the race, win the race. I don't think late race 1 England with Ethan Knight. So
yeah, Brown, last minute send. So
Brown, last minute lunge at the final corner.
Yep.
As Burko comes across the line, he's going to take the win in race 2.
Burko wins the 20th race of the Development Series Championship. Palfrey, a fantastic 2nd, having started 17th. Take your hat off to that. That's a great performance for him. Then you've got Brown managed to outrun Callaghan to the... actually, he managed to outrun a few of them. So what's happened to Callaghan here? He's actually falling down the order. He's been docked a lap, so I think there might be a situation that has to be sorted out there. There were a few penalties that flew. We did actually make sure we cleared them. So there is I think there's a lap adjustment that might have to happen there just to see what's actually gone on. I'll actually note that for after the racing is over. But Palfrey 2nd and Brown 3rd, but I'm not quite sure what has actually transpired there. I'm just going to go and have a quick look and see if we can get a read on it. But as far as I'm aware, Callaghan, he actually was behind Brown, and he's finished 4th on road. So I dare say there will be a lap adjustment to take place for that one, and then that should sort that out, and then that will take care of all of that. It's just going to take a little bit of time to sort some of this out. What do you think, Locke? What did you think of that race? I mean, yes, we had a lot of safety cars again in that one, but well, the strategy calls were interesting from a few people.
Yeah, a lot of different strategies merging at the end there, and obviously Burko and Palfrey were the victors. Pitted at the right time under the safety car, and well, they had the fresher rubber at the end, and like I said, the fresher rubber is what you want in those last laps, and they put it to good use.
Yep, certainly did. So the situation for Callaghan, he, according to our timing, he's just looking to see what's had the interval. I think at the flag there was 1.2, so he's probably going to be adjudged, I think, fourth by our numbers. So we're just going to have to wait and confirm what's got to go on there with that, but we'll have to look at that one back. The adjustment's been applied, but I don't think it's probably going to be official considering everybody's across the line. We'll have to just see how all that pans out. But that's a very interesting night of racing. I know we were sort of holding our breath last time at the Gold Coast when we thought, you know what, there's going to be quite a few safety cars and things like that, but actually it was surprisingly well behaved compared to tonight. So that will be a rather, I guess, an interesting talking point after this.
Yeah, an interesting thing to point out there too. We've had the winner of both races take the lead on the final lap. So yeah, that all of those safety cars and everything bundled up nicely in the end, and we got a surprise winner in both races. So yeah.
Well, we'll see what happens on the other side of things. I think what we've witnessed is probably one of the weirdest nights in ASR Development Series Championship, and I've been struggling to keep up with a lot of things that have been going on. So just you know, a few guys that are in the chat, a few guys that are sitting in the server and keeping an eye on things and popping things in the YouTube chat. I really do appreciate your help with some of that, because it's been a rather difficult night to keep an eye on absolutely everything going on up and down the field, because there were so many safety cars. We didn't have a chance to go back and take a look at every single possible situational outcome there. We didn't actually, our live timing these days actually doesn't give us very much of an accurate feed on what happens when people come in for pit stops. That it tells us they're in the pits, but it also has the same symbol that they are from when they are retired as well. So we sort of don't always get the best information available to us at the end of a night to tell us who stopped where. We usually get that when we look at the server replay after the night's over. We're going to forego the interviews tonight again, especially after tonight's performance, and I guess a few of us are rather disappointed, and I think a few people need to go and have a little bit of a cool off and a bit of a look at themselves. And you know, even though he's going to have a penalty coming his way, I look at one of the comments from Ryan Smith in the chat saying, you know, it has been a bit of a joke tonight, but there's avoidable incidents under safety car, avoidable multi-car wrecks under safety car is a joke. And the one thing I guess to be said here is this was the track that the drivers voted in, and voted in quite substantial numbers. So at the end of the day, drivers, you're the ones that voted for it. You're the ones that have got to put up with it. You guys are the ones that have got to be sorted out and got to look after it. And, you know, you're only responsible for your own performances. So I guess that's all I can say about that. My thanks to Lockie Lock for his debut and commentary. Fine job. Very, very nicely done. Good to have you aboard. I'm looking forward to seeing you again, hopefully over the course of the remaining couple of rounds, Lockie.
Yeah, hopefully. It's well, it was definitely an eventful induction, I guess is a good way to put it. But hopefully the next one has a few less safety cars.
Absolutely. Well, the next round of the series, I think, will probably have a few less safety cars because we're going back to traditional racing. We're going racing around Sandown. So we will see how things go after that. But until next time, my voice always says the same thing, and that's please drive safely, everybody, and we'll see you on the next one. Bye for now.